Hello there, welcome back to another episode of the Vintage Collection Wishlist. My name is Only One Kenobi. Only one. Today, I'd like to talk about probably one of the most iconic pilots of the Rebel Alliance, Biggs Darklighter. So welcome. The last video I did was of a classic character whose cardback was released in the 1980s that needs to come back. This guy, however, is different. This is a classic character who has never even been on a vintage cardback, but really deserves to be so, because he's so iconic. It's Biggs Darklighter. No pilot in the Rebel Alliance sticks in your memory better than Biggs, with his trademark moustache and checkerboard helmet. It's quite interesting that when I was watching Rogue One and Blue Leader came up on the screen, the first thing I thought was, this guy could be on a vintage cardback. Probably something to do with Biggs. In fact, everyone did say the Blue Leader was the Biggs Darklighter. However, if and when Blue Leader becomes a vintage card is for another video. But for now, let's talk about Biggs. Why he's not on a vintage card already is a mystery, but he really should be on Hasbro's list. So this Black Series figure has grown on me a lot now. I didn't used to like it as much as the 30th anniversary figure, which does have a better head sculpt, I think, of Garrick Hagon, the man who played Biggs Darklighter in Star Wars 1977. So given this figure was released in the Black Series following the last vintage collection, it stands to question, was it going to get put on a vintage card? I'd like to think that Hasbro could bring it back and put it on a vintage card back using any of the stock photos from the 1977 film. It would just do the figure and, more importantly, the character justice to put him on a vintage card. Regarding the history of Biggs, well, everybody knows that he's an old friend of Luke Skywalker. There's a famous deleted scene of him on Tatooine outside the Tashi station picking up some power converters. But this kind of scene got deleted. Quite glad it did, really, because it sort of... The scene is pretty much George Lucas, who's still in American Graffiti mode. If you've not seen American Graffiti, I do recommend you watch it. It's a good film. However, I think the whole teenage blues thing doesn't quite work in the Star Wars universe, but still, it is a nice scene to watch, but I'm glad it got left on the cutting room floor. So, Biggs is one of many pilots who lost their lives at the Battle of Yavin, one of the most significant battles in the entire Star Wars saga. Though they lost their lives, they were instrumental in bringing around the demise of the Empire and especially the Death Star. For this reason alone, Hasbro, you need to put Biggs Darklighter on a Star Wars vintage cardback. This has been Only One Kenobi. Only One. Out.